Hello everybody and welcome to tonight's coverage of the second season of the NASCAR Class C Maconi Setup Shop Fix Series. This evening we're excited to be bringing you top split action for the weekly straight the field race from iRacing's virtual Texas Motor Speedway here at Fort Worth, Texas. Maconi Entertainment's here to bring you all the action for all types of racing for the weekly Fast Friday series. No matter what you are racing, we can bring the action to life. My name is Justin Prince, alongside is Alexander Valderas. Producing is Ryan Bauer, with cameras provided by the great Dougie Beard. As we get ready to see who gets things done at a state known for places being big, Texas Motor Speedway, the second week of the season already. Alex.
So tonight, it's a great race here at Texas Motor Speedway, my home track. My on-the-half track was recently repaved. Different bankings in turns 1 and 2 compared to 3 and 4. Gonna see a lot of hard racing in 3 and 4, maybe not so much in 1 and 2, but on that long run, when these guys save their tires, this could be an extremely good race.
Let's talk a bit about the schedule. Keep in mind this fall is a part of the NASCAR calendar for the real-world competitions. Coming into tonight, the second week of the season, other tracks in the real-world schedule include Talladega and Iowa, but after Phoenix, things get interesting later with iRacing Super Speedway, Auto Club Speedway with 2-mile configuration, and Atlanta, a couple different super speedways in that stretch, and the closing stages for this season's championship.
Yeah, this schedule looks great in my opinion. iRacing did a good job lining up a lot of good tracks, a couple of little goes in there like Talladega and iRacing Super Speedway, but the rest of this is going to be a great schedule.
In turn, how did last week fare out for our respective drivers? Let's take a look at the point standings entering the week as Joey Masevich comes into tonight as the top points getter after Bristol. 248 points picked up during the week. Jacob Snyder, along with Daniel Mosteller, runs the top 3. Michael Guest, an eNASCAR driver in 4th. Eli Kent in the top 5 in points tallies. Also of note, Colin Bowden, with experience in eNASCAR, one of his several accounts, also able to make their way up towards the front in the top 10 in points. Chase Cabre also amidst that top 10. Expect that to spread apart, though, with 8 races counting towards your points, or 8 weeks amongst the 12-race schedule.
Yeah, and I want to, if I can, take a quick talk about how Joey was able to get that lead last week. He was able to jump the entire field on a pit stop and snuck past everybody. And he was able to lead the last 20 laps of Bristol, and he came home with the win. Super solid points gap he has right now over Jacob Schneider, over an 11-point gap, already going into the second week of the season. This is going to be a good start for him to go for a run for the championship at the end of the season.
And in turn, let's take a look at the track details. You talked a bit about Texas Motor Speedway. It's your home track. That different banking, though, can cause a lot of problems tonight for some.
Absolutely. Going into turns 1 and 2, it's super, super wide. We can even have 5-6 wide racing. I don't know if we're going to get that tonight, but it could happen. But the 4 degrees less of banking in turns 1 and 2, meaning you have to drive both ends of this track differently. 1 and 2, you have to lift off more and save your right front more. Turns 3 and 4, you can go a little bit more flat out, but does it come at the cost of your tires? That's where you can make up the time and get a run off of 4 to go for a move in 1 and 2. But is it worth it overall?
That's going to be a major question mark, especially on the restarts tonight. And as we get set to go, keep in mind, as we get ready to look towards what the details come into play tonight, 40 laps on the docket, about 60 miles here at No Limits, Texas. Lots of action in turn, but only 2 sets available in the pit lane for tonight. In turn, the pit speed limit, 45 miles an hour. Remember, drivers can make it on fuel if it goes green. And the fixed setup, a commonality, as it is C-fixed after all. So in turn, just a few moments away from the start of tonight's action for a busy night here at Texas Motor Speedway. 22 drivers looking to tackle Texas at the S.O.F race, the first races of the week, just about to get underway. Let's take a look at your starting grid tonight. Starting things off on the pole, Greg Janczak setting the best time at qualifying to 30.4. Justin Patel starts alongside Jabo, once again carrying speed and C-fixed. Row 2 features Dean Brummett alongside Cole Parkin. Parkin amongst those who showed some speed last year. Wes Nip starts in 5th, Joey Masevich, the points leader, in 6th. Right at the top 8 grouping, Dan Antle and Justin Egan starts off in 8th position, a couple tenths off the pole. Jeff Maconi in 9th, rounding up your top 10 tonight, Lincoln Bond.
Going on past the top 10, we have Gavin Higgins and then Derek Winter to round out row number 6. Behind them is Derek Winter and Grant Trope. Got a good qualifying effort for them for the Toyota and the Chevy. Then going on further down the grid is Colin Bowden and Cody Kello, who did not set a lap time, and everyone beyond here, I believe, has not set a lap. So these guys are ranked off of iRating. Davis Rochester and Bailey Guinness in the 20th spot. AJ Parrott and Rico Torinas in 22nd. That'll round out the grid.
As we'll talk about on your running grid tonight as we get set for a track temperature very hot here in Texas, 113 degrees Fahrenheit to start. The air temp at 78. The wind speed, not too much of a factor. That's the default north 2 miles an hour for tonight's action. But as we get set to go for tonight's festivities, let's talk a bit about your expectations here. Second race of the season in terms of the race weeks, but the first week on the calendar for the week in amongst itself. How do you play things out here at Texas with so many drivers looking to battle at this very tight racetrack?
Well, obviously, going off of how Bristol went, a lot of these guys didn't go the way they wanted it to, so Texas is going to be their week to rebound. And a lot of these guys are going to need good races, especially in the first race of this week, the S.O.F race. These guys are going to have to bounce back, the ones who didn't get where they wanted to get last week. And this is their opportunity to go back a little bit bigger of a track. You know, Texas Motor Speedway, 1.5 mile circuit around. These guys going to give another chance to go for it. And Joey is going to have to do his best to defend from mid-pack here tonight.
And as the drivers make their way to the racetrack, we'd like to remind you tonight's action brought to you in part by Maconi Setup Shop and Maconi Entertainment. The home for setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, event promotion, and more on the iRacing service. Subscriptions available as low as $8 a month. Maconi Setup Shop, the official setup shop of eNASCAR. Just about set to go, and you mentioned Joey Misevich as one of the drivers to watch. Who do you think's the one who can pick up the win tonight here at Texas?
I mean, honestly, I think Justin Patella or Jabo has a good chance to get for the win, starting from second on the grid. Now, Texas, you know, going into turn 1, you have sort of a chance, but off of these restarts are going to be key. To get a good restart, you need to be in pace to the leader, not go too fast to get a black flag, and have a good chance to get the move down into turn number 1.
Go and have you with us tonight here on Maconi Entertainment. It's the Maconi Setup Shop Steve Fixed S.O.F race from Texas Motor Speedway here on iRacing. In control of the field is Jancic. For the opening green, Jabo alongside. We're underway from No Limits, Texas. Jancic, who leads the first time around, and already some drivers trying to get that second line going. This is a very bottom prevalent racetrack, to say the very least. Drivers are taking advantage. Misevich amongst them, already looking for the top 4, and the clock's already coming to play for the lead.
Yeah, these guys know it's go time off of this restart. You want to be able to get out of the dirty air as fast as you can, because that dirty air, especially at Texas, is going to ground your right front to shreds, riding on board with the back end of our leader, Craig Jensenwick, who is in the lead. And right now he's battling almost 3 different lanes. Joey up already to 4th place, up to a few spots. And right now he's going to go for 3rd place. So he's already decided it's go time to get back to the front. And Big Block's already at the front of the field.
Oh, and a big dive. That's Cole Parkinson to the inside. Offset 3 wide. And just like that, a change in through turn 3. And that's the major emphasized point. If you get a run down the front stretch or run on the back stretch especially, you can take that away quickly if you force them to lose the bottom.
Absolutely. I mean, protecting the bottom is key here in Texas, and it looks like Cole Palkin just has mounds of speed. He's driving away from the field currently. These guys still 2 and 3 wide behind us. Joey now trying to move some spots, riding on board with the man himself, Jeff Maconi, going in to turn number 3 and 4, getting a good eye view of the pack just out in front of him. Jeff Maconi currently sits 9th, just in the top 10. And right now, I'm pretty sure he's looking to start saving his tires already, because the earlier you start saving, the more of an advantage you're going to have against these guys who are racing at the front of the field. And Joey up to 3rd, made up 3 spots already, looking to go for that 2nd spot.
Track position very key, clean air especially key, hence why some of the aggressiveness early. Also, Munsto's trying to work the bottom of the backdrop. Bond on Brummett, making the move there. But as this all fares out here, keep in mind, the further back you go, the worse the dirty air can get. Wes Nip amongst those to emphasize that. You mentioned the way of tire saving. There's actually an interesting point from Daniel Buttafuoco I've seen in the past where some drivers actually lift in the quad oval to help save the tires and slow the speed down for that entry.
You know, that's an interesting fact, because I don't think he's totally wrong in that, because when you lift, you take off a little bit of pressure off the right sides, and a little less pressure means a little less heat, a little less tire scrubbing, and that means in default you should have more tire life by the end. Right on board with Cody Kello in 12th place. He seems to already be saving a lot of big lifts going on in entering the corner, and he was able to plant the gas, and Jeff Maconi now finds himself in a tight-knit battle for that top 10 spot.
Looks to the bottom indeed in the 03 machine. Back of the line goes Maconi, that's for 10th. Colin Bowden you have to keep an eye on. He didn't take the time to make a paint scheme, but Bowden, when he has the time to make moves, can make moves quickly. After all, he has raced at the NASCAR level, lot in that 69 machine with the Racer over the years, for example, the past most recent seasons. Already looking for the 9th spot, has a lot of speed off the exits.
That was a perfect example of being able to slide into that bottom lane. The 9 couldn't hold it down in there, but he could. He slid his way in there. He got on his left rear, and that took a little bit of air off. Oh, we've got a spin coming off the turn number 4.
And a big lockup off the corner. That's the 11. Cody Calero going off to the grass. No caution, though. We stay green as he went off the racing surface. So go back to the front to Dean Brummett.
He's made up a few spots here, sitting in 6th place where Joey was originally. Now he's easily just coasting a little bit. You can hear a little bit of a lift, but mainly these guys are flat out in 3 and 4. That extra 4 degrees of banking helps carry a ton of speed, but carrying more speed in the corner isn't always the fastest way to get around the racetrack after a long run, because that can wear your tires pretty well, but Dean seems to be doing a pretty good job of saving them.
It's a very difficult conundrum, though, because if you're at a racetrack where you're nearly full throttle, but if you end up going to nearly full throttle, you burn up your tires, how's that balancing act in the cockpit?
The trucks is one of the hardest things to tire save in, because everybody around you can go almost flat out because of how much downforce these trucks have and how little power they have. You can base almost every intermediate is a plate trap. You know, these guys can go mainly flat out. Really, you don't even have to brake entering turn number 1. It's just a big lift. So with these guys already doing some big lifts in turn number 1 and barely lifting for 3 and 4, you have to manage that to perfection. If you are too slow, the pack can draft away from you, and then there's no point in saving your tires because you're too far away for that advantage to even mean anything. But push too hard, and you're going to fall like a rock.
Looking towards the back of the grouping currently, where there's a lot of shuffling. Davis Rochester is currently at the back of the main group. 17th position. This is about 6 seconds behind the leader, but a lot of these drivers back here making it clear they're not afraid to send it on the outside, as in particular, here they go once again. Rochester on Mefford.
Yeah, I think that second lane can really work at 1 and 2. You know, I mean, it is a very bottom-heavy track, but if you can get on the right rear of the guy in front of you, he's going to start to lose some speed, and then you're going to gain some speed off of that. So if you can keep your truck where it is and hold that line, you have a good chance of at least being side-by-side off of turn 2.
Just past the quarter-way mark here in this race. Let's look back towards the front again. Lincoln Bond amongst those looking solid, running 31.1s. He's right now running some of the fastest lap times of the racetrack. Downside, nearly 2 seconds back of the leader, and having to try and battle to get around a very wobbly Craig Yanzak.
You could hear in 3 and 4 that he was having a lift early in the corner, then got back almost flat, I'm pretty sure, and just in the middle, and then kept it pinned. Now trying to use that second lane in 1 and 2, and it looks like it won't quite work, but the line he took may give him a run to enter it in 3 and 4. And right now he's just kind of sitting behind. Right now going to a good job to save his tires. He knows that there's still a long way to go in this race, so no sense in pushing the nose off the truck now. Just let it ride for the next 30 laps.
Especially on a track that it's hard to draw cautions at unless someone makes a major mistake. Here's a look at Bowden meanwhile. This is now for a spot. And Colin Bowden continues to run lap times right in the same ballpark as the leaders. And this is kind of what you expect to see from a driver with experience at the top level. I know I mention that a lot, but a lot of those drivers, you ask them, why do you start in the back? I like the challenge of going from last to first.
So far, he's pretty close to doing it. Already up. One of the biggest movers of the race. He now finds himself in 7th position, just behind Dean Brummett, the guy we were talking about earlier. And Colin Bowden is going as fast, or even sometimes faster than the leader. And out of everyone in this field, I believe he has the best knowledge of how to save his tires. Raced at the eNASCAR level and raced with some setups. Maybe not the fixed one, but tire saving knowledge goes across every setup imaginable.
You can indeed argue that when it comes to the speed we've seen showcased. Meanwhile, is that Rihanna on that paint scheme?
I believe so. I mean, that's a good addition to the old trunk lid there, but the number 8 truck, aerial number.
Apparently that is somebody else, musician-wise, believe, but as long as it's bringing them good luck, right?
Oh yeah, got some tunes playing in the car, and hopefully that's gonna put him up there. We've already got some side-by-side racing here again, just behind him. And that's going to be Dean Brummett and Jabo, Justin Patello. One of my picks to win started second now, as Dean Brummett makes the move up to 5th.
And Brummett amongst those who we usually see do well with the long runs at times. Lost spots, as said, in the short term. Looking to try and pace himself. We've seen him be competitive at the end of these long runs when it goes green like this, throughout the past few months especially.
Yeah, Dean is one of those guys who can make his tires go a lot further distance than other drivers around him. He can stretch those tires a lot further than a lot of other drivers can, and keep them quick for a good amount of time. And I believe Dean, as he touches the apron, and that's exactly what you don't want to do in turn number 1 and 2. If you touch the apron, it's going to shoot your truck right up the track, almost a couple of lanes, and that's going to slow you right down.
And all this is while Bowden, by the way, is here. How big has the runs been for that 5 truck? Another 10th quicker than the leader last time by, and not slowing down. Remember, it's his 3rd account who's in the top 10 of the point standings. This is his main account, looking to try and join into the points fund.
You know, he just thought he'd throw the wrench in the works on the main and get her up there. And right now, that's exactly what he's doing. Made the move for 5th, past Dean Brummett, and is currently running 2/10 faster than the leader. So clearly, either he's pacing himself or he just knows the ins and outs, especially.
I think it's a bit of both, though, too, because some tracks like Richmond he's done well at. It's been a bit of a rough season in the points in the 30s, in fact, coming into tonight for the Coke Series. But he does have strong backing when it comes to that open side, as now it's Bond. And a slide for the race leader. Cole Parkin gets loose from the point. Masevich drives on by. That was, in fact, Craig Yanzik's yellow truck, but regardless, that was in a bad spot.
I didn't even see that coming. We're going to get an instant replay here, and yeah, currently 7th, but was in 2nd. And you really don't often see it get loose, but these hot track temperatures, something these drivers not used to. A lot of the setups usually being tight, gets a slide and slows right down, and now he has to do battle with all these guys in front of him. Finds himself in the 7th position.
Oh, that's wow. Colin Bowden, as we look away from second, decides to make 2 passes and move to second. He's only a second and a half back of your race leader, just past the halfway point. Cole Parkin in the American flag paint scheme up in front. Bowden's the quickest driver on the racetrack. He's a 10th quicker even when making passes. Misevich, the points leader, staying within range. So now it becomes the difficult balancing act for Parkin. If Bowden closes that gap, keep an eye on that corner interval especially. That's where it's been the speed difference.
Right now I'm looking at the timing table, and the gap of the closing rate between Colin and Cole has slowed down a bit. So Colin probably driving it a little easier, get a little heat out of the tires, make sure they're not as hot, so that they're in that optimal temperature range where they grip the track and they don't just push the fronts or slide the rears. And right now, that lap was, again, 2/10 faster than the leader, so he's turned on the jets again, and he's going back after Cole.
Lincoln Bond's going after the points leader, Misevich, as well. Bond very quietly doing very well throughout tonight. Once again, just riding in the top 5. Here comes the chance. Run to the inside. Misevich lets him get alongside.
I think Joey realizes here that racing now still, even on lap 25 out of 40, you've still got just under half of the race to go. So you've still got plenty of laps to get that spot back. Just trying ever so lightly, not to make him passing him as easy as possible, but definitely not wanting to give it that spot. As Joey gets a little loose coming off of 2 and saves it, but now that's going to leave him to get in the range of Dean Brumman. He's going to make the move into 3.
Still having sliding things around. Misevich under attack by Brumman. Brumman also a bobble alongside. Misevich now with a full-on freight train alongside. Here's J-Bo trying to make the pass as well.
As they go almost 3 wide into turn number 1, something I said could happen, but I didn't think it was actually going to happen. One thing I am actually very excited about is these guys are actually getting loose instead of tight. So iRacing may have actually brought a looser setup with the hotter track conditions. We may see these guys wheeling it to the corner.
And you mentioned the balancing act, right? If you have a hot racetrack and a car that you have to zip around at full pace in, very easy to burn things up around 3 and 4. That's where it seems to be getting loose, more so. 1 and 2 is where you see the tight condition.
Right, with the less banking in turns 1 and 2, you're putting more pressure on the right front to actually do more work in getting the car around the corner. In turns 3 and 4, with that extra 4 degrees of banking, you're actually putting less pressure. It seems redundant, but you are. You're putting less pressure because the banking itself is keeping the car where it's supposed to be. Just think of Daytona. You know, these guys, that's almost 26 to 27 degrees of banking. That is going to keep the car in line, and you really don't have to pit for tires at Daytona, but at Texas, you sure are going to have to do that. And in turns 1 and 2, that right front is actually being pushed harder. And we're seeing the loose conditions in 3 and 4 because you're on the throttle more. So, could you see more of these guys starting to slide around and get loose in the rear?
And keep in mind, with this run going nearly the full distance, already up to lap 29, you have to think someone may have that chance of sliding around off turn 4 with the way things are going. But with 11 laps to go, Parkin and Bowden currently separate under 0.4 of a second. Here they go. Right now, Bowden within distance. And you see right there, just that difference on the entry is where Bowden's picking up his speed, and now he's got that draft that picks up some additional speed.
Silent charger of the race, really. Colin Bowden has been making up moves, and we really haven't even been seeing it. We saw a few of them earlier, but he's slowly been catching the leader now, almost to under 0.2 of a second. You can just see how much of that speed advantage he has entering and center. Gets a good roll throughout the corner, and he maintains that speed and matches the leader on exit. So with him matching the most crucial point and beating him in the even more crucial points, Cole is going to have to wring out some work to see if he can hold on for the next 9 laps.
9 to go at the strike here from Texas. Bowden looking for the opportunity to pounce. They have a 3-second buffer to the rest of the pack. Keep in mind, these two are 0.2 quicker per lap than the entire rest of the field.
These guys are going to leave it alone out front right now. Colin now almost down to underneath 0.2 of a second, and this is the laps where he is going to have to push as hard as he can. He's going to have to push to get to the rear end and get to a move because he doesn't want to stick in that dirty air for so long. Because if he does, that right front is going to be in jeopardy of being absolutely torn to shreds. But right now he's just sitting under the rear wing and going to get to under a 10th coming down the back. We'll see if he makes the move into 3.
Not close enough for the lunge yet. Bowden's within distance, though, to force something. Just out of range of making things loose on that rear spoiler. 7 laps to go. Bowden has the run. Does Parkin play the block, or does Bowden take the inside? Not close enough yet to make the full-on pounce. Now with the dirty air, looking for the diamond.
Right now, Colin is absolutely on the rear end of our leader, Cole Parkin. Now going to drop to just below a 10th of a second, and there it goes. And now Colin is just sizing up a move. He's getting as close as he can to Parkin just without touching him in the corner. And he's seeing if he could force a mistake out of our leader, and there he goes to the race lead.
There's the little bobble he tried to force before. 6 laps to go. Bowden alongside of the inside. Parkin lifts on the outside, tries to go back for the diamond. Colin Bowden going from the back to the front with 6 laps to go. He tries to hold on as Parkin tries for the defensive move.
I wouldn't say it's over yet. Cole now being in the draft of Colin gives him a good chance to try and strike back. And Cole is going to have to push his nose off his truck these last 5 laps. Let's see if he can make the move back for the lead.
Losing some ground though that lap, however, down the front stretch. 5 laps to go here at Maconi Entertainment. Parkin needs a little luck to try and pounce. Bowden better on the long run. Bowden's got it with how things are playing out there. That corner entry through Apex just seems to be the massive difference. He has that little bit extra on the tire wear, it seems.
And it's not by much, really. It's not like he's outclassing him completely as Collins looks to slide the rear end a little bit. And here comes Cole.
Oh, one mistake from Bowden sets up the opportunity for Parkin. Parkin up inside, Bowden to the wall. Well, that's a line you don't see every day at this configuration. Trying to get the ramp down. Bowden has a couple more chances to take it back.
Look at the just amount of speed he got running off that top. We usually never see anyone up there unless they're wrecked. So that eNASCAR experience coming from as many corners as the internet as possible. He is using every trick in the book he knows, and he wants that race lead badly.
Oh, nearly making contact on the bump. Bowden looking for the second line this time. Forced to reset for the diamond line. 2.5 laps to go to the back straightaway. And Parkin starting to get loose again. Bowden looking for the wide arc. There's the speed, there's the bump. Parkin holds on to it. Bowden forced to check up. 2 laps to go from Texas.
Man, these two have been going at it for the last 10 laps, and it's been an insane battle. Colin, originally perceived to be with just a few laps to go, going to ease away with the race lead, now has to battle it for again. Going to try and take that top spot away from Cole Parkin. Gave him a little bit of bump in 3 last lap. Let's see what he does here, coming to the white flag.
Going for the bumper yet again. This time he moves him. Parkin moves up the track. Bowden alongside, coming to the white flag, this time by 1 lap to go from Texas as they go side by side to the quad oval. Bowden on the inside, Parkin trying to squeeze outside. Can Parkin do anything to take the lead back as they make their way to the backstretch? Here comes the move of the block. Bowden all the way to the white line. Parkin forced up to the second line. Colin Bowden goes from the back to the front. Checker flag waves at Texas. It's Colin Bowden who wins the S.O.F race at Texas.
That was an incredible battle to see Colin Bowden come out on top. And with a gap of just 0.2, you wouldn't have been able to think with how many laps Cole had led. Colin came from nowhere, lost the lead once in the battle, regained it when it mattered most, threw an aggressive block going into turn 3, and look how happy he is to win.
Colin Bowden going from the back to the front. What can you say when it comes to that speed tonight? It took until the final laps to make the move, and Cole Pockin looks to join suit as well. Again, post-race coverage coming up in just a moment. When we come back, we'll look at the race results and talk with some of the drivers. You're watching Maconi Entertainment for the C-Fix action from Texas. Brought to you by Maconi Setup Shop.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to tonight's coverage of the Maconi Setup Shop C-Fixed S.O.F race here on Maconi Entertainment. Let's look at your full results. These official in sim. Colin Bowden picks the victory up tonight by 2/10 over Cole Pockin with a battle not to forget. Dean Brummett with all of that closed up nearly a full second, but still finished up in third. 2/10 up for Lincoln Bond as they had a close battle at the end too. Jabo finishes up in 5th. Craig Yancek from the pole, and a near spin recovers to 6th. Joey Misevich, his tires fell off to drop him to 7th. Derek Winter and Wes Nipp along with Justin Hagan rounding out your top 10 finishers here tonight. Looking at the rest of the grouping here, an interesting race, Alex.
Absolutely. We saw an amazing race from Texas. I myself am a little surprised, but down to a 2/10 gap for the race win, which was incredible. A lot of these guys, we had a completely green race, which is completely different to what we had last week. So really good to see these guys go without wrecking. A great couple of saves, and honestly, great racing throughout the whole field.
And as we gather things together amongst your top finishers tonight, let's talk with one of your top points runners this season so far. Joey Misevich joining us. He finished off in the top 10 once more in tonight's S.O.F race. Joey, what happened to that 64? You were running in the top 5 until the final couple laps when the leaders started bumping and running in the corners.
Yeah, Texas happened. I've never claimed that Texas was one of my good tracks, and I've also never claimed it's one that I like. But if you're wondering where the initial speed came from that got me there in the first place, all credit goes to DJ EJ, Justin Yee on YouTube, who makes our awesome C-Fix setup guides every week, along with a couple other setup guides each week. I followed exactly what he said to do, and I had some initial pace, and Texas still grabbed me.
Yeah, give credit to Justin Yee. He's been a driver who, for a few years, has been very much developing, but also the YouTube side, to give him credit on that front, has really developed as a content creator. But when it comes to yourself so far, you entered tonight with the S.O.F points lead, so to speak, from Bristol. You add this on tonight. What's that battle mindset like, knowing it's early in the season for a schedule like this, but you're one of the championship favorites as one of the series regulars in this time slot?
Yeah, I was planning to completely use this week as a drop week. Judging by the attendance, I assume others did as well. So, seventh place, 170 or so points. That's something to rest on if I have a few bad weeks. Depending on who showed up, that might even keep me the points lead. So, yeah, looking hopeful going forward. Got a lot of good tracks now that Texas is out of the way on the schedule. And I'm excited for more Maconi Setup Shop C-Fix series on Maconi Entertainment.
Well, on that note, thank you so much for the time, Joey. It seems you're getting set for the next racetrack. We'll get you to that very much. Thank you, Joey.
Thank you all.
Joey Misevich, once again, finishing up in the top 10. Team boss from Maconi Esports, also standing alongside currently. That's Jeff Maconi. He's with Alexander Balderas.
Well, Jeff, we meet again after a fun week at Bristol last week. Come home at 14th here at Texas, my home track, and personally one of my favorites. Even though it may not be everyone else's favorites, looks like you got a top 15 here tonight, and honestly ran good throughout most of it. Give us a rundown of how your race went.
We were talking in the race, and the general consensus is that driving at Texas, it's like the track is like burnt toast. You know, it's better than nothing, but like I just don't understand the place. I fundamentally do not understand Texas, and I was starting to figure it out towards the end. Apparently, I thought I was burning my tires off, and apparently I wasn't using them enough. Joey burnt another like 12% off his right rear than I did. So I just fundamentally don't understand it. I get the same feeling looking at Texas on the schedule as I do when I look outside and my DoorDasher forgot my drink. Like, I just don't get it. Like, it's better than nothing. I would rather be here than doing something else, but I just don't understand this place. I wish I was better than 15th. I was shooting for a top 10, but I'll try and run better in the next ones, I guess, and I'm just excited for next week.
I mean, hey, you didn't get as nearly as many incidents as you did last week, so safety rating to boot, that's going to be a definite saver over, our analogy last week of you being the nut in the squirrel's mouth. That was definitely a crazy week last week, a lot calmer this week. So how do you think the rest of the races are going to play out?
Honestly, it's not the worst setup I have ever driven there. Like, I have driven some really, really uncooperative cars at Texas in the past. So the setup is good, that iRacing put together and put out for it. It gets loose on you. You really have to manage your tires because you will burn the right rear off, especially in 3 and 4. My biggest struggle personally was I would get very, very loose on the exit of 4, but I was able to carry a lot of speed off of 2, and I couldn't make the passes happen down the backstretch. So it is what it is. I might run a couple more of these, but it's enjoyable. It's as enjoyable as a Texas race could possibly be, but I just personally do not like the track. I don't vibe with it.
Well, one of my favorite tracks, and being my home track, Texas has a little special place in my heart, but I can see if it's not on everyone else's favorite tracks list. But overall, a clean race from here for you here tonight. Lessons learned to take to boot, and you're going to come back stronger here in the next races. Before we get it back to JP, any other watts or any other things you'd like to say?
Yeah, a clean race from Jeff Maconi. That's a rarity, so I'm happy with that one. I got a 1X coming to the line. I was like, I just sent it off of turn number 4 and got into the grass, so I got an off track. But I thank everyone at Maconi Setup Shop, Maconi Entertainment, Maconi Competitive Zone. You guys did a great broadcast, I'm sure, as always. And thank you to everyone that watches. Also got to thank Bruzy Raceware, the Sim Racer Movie, Ron the Snack Guy, Victory Sim, WSMN, Radio 1590 AM, everyone that makes this possible. It's fun to do, and even when we're at a place like Texas where I just personally don't vibe with the track, I just don't fundamentally understand it, it's still a good time.
Well, Jeff, I swear that list of people to thank gets longer every week. But I thank you for giving me the opportunity to interview you after tonight's race, and hopefully all goes well in the coming weeks.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Once again, that's Jeff Maconi finishing up with a minus 35 on the night, as the little negative, unfortunate for there. But your final thoughts, an exciting finish to say the very least. Two drivers who broke away from the pack, only one could come away with the checker flag.
Absolutely, Colin drove a fantastic race, getting all the way from last to first, him showing that eNASCAR experience, and not really stunting on the rest of the field, but really showing them who he knows and what he knows. And that was a fantastic race, using almost every strategy in the book, and seeing something I'd never seen before, going to the complete wall in Turn 1 in Texas. Usually we don't see anyone up there unless they wreck. And him getting the run off of Turn 2, set up the pass for 3 and 4, and that was absolute skill. That was incredible.
But how about that bump and run once again here in Texas, using a little bit of that scoot and booty that was utilized by Timmy Hill a couple of years ago in some of the Pro-Invitational action, you can argue. But you know where we'll see a lot of bumping and pushing around the racetrack next? Talladega Superspeedway. In 1 week's time, we'll have the S.O.F. race at 8:15 p.m. Eastern on the 25th of September. It's Dega. And that race, expect to bring out some of the best who love superspeedways. But on that note, we'd like to thank you once more for tuning in to tonight's action, and thank you to the race sponsor, Maconi Setup Shop, as well as our broadcast partner, Maconi Competition. Calling the action tonight was myself, Justin Prince, alongside Alexander Balderas, with the booth. Alongside Ryan Bauer.